Hot news update: coronavirus on May 23, 2020. Note, this is a collaborative video made between Travel for All fanpage and Knowledge of Coronavirus channel. Please respectfully welcome everyone. The following is the remarkable news most on May 23 as follows. 1. American news. All 50 U.S. states have relaxed their blockade at different levels. Georgia and Texas remove most of the restrictions, but other states take a more conservative approach. The country has more than 1.6 million cases, and the top infectious disease expert said it's conceivable the U.S. could have a coronavirus vaccine by December. 2. Update: COVID-19 in the world. Updated on May 23, 2020. To date, 215 countries/territories around the globe recorded cases, in which the United States is the country with the highest number of infected people in the world. 5,328,703 people were infected, 340,430 died, of which figures of several countries. The United States has 1,645,412 people infected and 97,663 deaths. Russia has 335,882 people infected and 3,388 deaths. Brazil has 332,382 people infected and 21,116 deaths. Spain has 281,904 people infected and 28,628 deaths. The UK has 254,195 infected people and 36,393 deaths. Italy has 228,628 people infected and 32,616 deaths. France has 181,575 people infected and 28,132 deaths. Germany had 179,713 8,352 people infected and died. Meanwhile, according to updated data from the Worldometers page of the COVID-19 epidemic, as of 7 a.m. this morning of May 23, the total number of infections worldwide has nearly reached the milestone of 5.3 million, of which the number of people dead was 339,413 people and the number of recovered patients was over 2.15 million. More than 5.2 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported worldwide, as well as at least 338,000 deaths, according to Johns Hopkins University. Overall, more than 5.3 million people were infected with COVID-19 globally. Russia noted the date of death. Brazil ranked second in the world in the number of cases. South America became the new center of the COVID-19 pandemic. 3. Russian news. Russia recorded the deadliest day, with 150 deaths from COVID-19, bringing the total to 3,249. An additional 8,894 new infections in the past 24 hours, lower than 8,764 on the third consecutive day, below 10,000. The number of new infections in Russia is the second highest in the world, but the number of deaths in this country is much lower, with other major epidemic regions. 4. Brazilian news. Brazil spikes. Brazil recorded more than 20,000 new cases within 24 hours, placing it third in the world globally. Only Russia and the US have more confirmed infections. On May 22, Brazil surpassed Russia in the number of SARS-CoV-2 infections causing COVID-19 acute respiratory infection, with 330,890 people, becoming the country with the second highest number of cases in the world, only after America. According to the Brazilian Ministry of Health, the country recorded 1,001 more deaths from COVID-19 on May 22, bringing the total to 21,048 cases. However, the actual number of cases and deaths is likely to be even higher as the South American nation is slow to increase testing. 5. Mexican news. Mexico reported 59,567 infections and 6,510 deaths, an increase of 2,973 and 420, respectively. Experts say that Mexicans are at a higher risk of death from COVID-19 than many countries due to underlying medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension and obesity. 6. Indian news. India recorded 124,794 cases and 3,726 deaths, an increase of 6,568 and 142. India has allowed the resumption of domestic flights from May 25 after 2 months of shutdown. Some federal trains were back in operation a week ago. 7 information. In Italy, the total number of COVID-19 cases as of this morning is 228,658 cases. In particular, the number of deaths is 32,616 cases and the number of recovery cases is 136,720 people. Silvio Bruzzifero, president of the Italian Institute of Advanced Health, ISS, said that the disease curve in the country is stable and declining, but he confirmed that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is still spreading and does not rule out the possibility increase in the coming weeks, so he advises people not to loosen personal protections. Meanwhile, on 22/5, General Director of the Italian Pharmaceutical Agency, AIFA, Nicola Magrini, said that there are 5 to 6 promising vaccines to prevent COVID-19 disease are having positive results and are expected to be accredited in the spring of 2021. 8. English news. The UK recorded 254,195 infections and 36,393 deaths, up 3,287 and 351 respectively. British officials announced that as of June 8, they would quarantine entry into the country for 2 weeks. Those who violate the requirement of isolation may be fined up to over $1,200. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the British government would recruit 25,000 more tracers in early June to handle 10,000 new cases each day. 9. Spanish news. Spain reported an additional 1,787 cases and 56 deaths, bringing the total to 281,904 and 28,628 respectively. The government of the country began lifting the blockade, which was considered the most stringent in Europe since the beginning of the month. However, Madrid and Barcelona still maintain restrictive orders because the disease has not been controlled yet. 10. Vietnam news. There are no new cases in Vietnam during the 37th day, while nearly 15,000 are isolated. The news at 6 a.m. on 23/5 of the National Steering Committee for Prevention and Control of COVID-19 said that Vietnam had not recorded a new case of COVID-19 this morning. To date, there have been 37 days in Vietnam without COVID-19 cases in the community. Up to now, Vietnam has a total of 184 cases of isolation immediately. This morning also entered the 5th day. Vietnam has not recorded cases of entry since 4 returned cases from Russia and the US were announced on the afternoon of May 18. The total number of close contacts and entry from epidemic areas are under health monitoring isolation is 14,744 people, of which isolation in hospitals, 266 people, concentrated isolation in other establishments, 7,726 people, isolation at home and place of residence, 6,752 people. 11 in Egypt. Egypt on 22 May announced an additional 783 cases of COVID-19 infection, marking a record increase since the discovery of the first case in mid-February, bringing the total number of cases. The disease in this North African country amounted to 15,786 people. According to Egyptian Health Ministry spokesman Kale Megad, the number of patients dying from the deadly disease is now 707, after an additional 11 deaths a day. In addition, 157 patients were discharged, bringing the total number of patients recovered to 4,374. Despite measures implemented to contain the COVID-19 epidemic, including the introduction of a curfew at night, the number of COVID-19 virus infections in Egypt has increased sharply since the end of March. 12. Singapore news. Singapore remained the largest epidemic region in the region, with 30,426 cases, an increase of 614, of which 23 died. Singapore is working hard to increase testing by recruiting more specimens from places like migrant workers' dormitories with a promise of high pay. 13. Indonesia news. Indonesia ranked second in the region with 20,796 cases and 1,326 deaths, up 634 and 48, respectively. Health workers still complained about the delayed process, even though a month had passed after President Joko Widodo promised speed up testers. Indonesia is the only country in Southeast Asia that has recorded deaths in excess of 1,000. 14. Swedish news. When the whole world has to go through a blockade or social separation to cope with a pandemic of COVID-19, only Sweden is a special case, still stubbornly continuing. Live normally despite the warnings from the World Health Organization, WHO. Instead of declaring a state of emergency and countrywide blockade, Sweden requires its citizens to implement a voluntary social separation on a voluntary basis and do not apply strong control measures. Building community immunity, but the Swedish government still forces people to follow certain restrictions to flatten curves. The COVID-19 translation chart, such as, do not gather in public places for more than 50 people, closing bars, schools for people aged 16 and up. But this is still the most gentle restriction in Europe. Our newsletter is now over. Thank you for always watching and supporting our videos. Knowledge of Coronavirus, channel and travel for all fanpage respectfully, and see you in the next video.